My name is Kiana Bergsma, and here we have Steve Stedman. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, Kiana. Things are going good. Busy day in the world of SQL Server consulting, but that's a good thing. Business is good. So this is the 10-year anniversary of Database Health Monitor. It's just 10 years ago that I started working on this, and it's come a long way in that amount of time.
Okay, well, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
But what is Database Health Monitor?
Database Health Monitor is a tool that I've built with a collection of queries and things that I learned as a DBA that I needed to check frequently. And I put all those together into a product that makes it so I don't have to go and copy and paste and find 25 or 30 or 50 different queries to check on a system's health. And I can just run them all in one program uh, and check on multiple things and get a status of the health of a SQL server in a short amount of time rather than lots and lots of copy and paste.
Wow. What made you start the Database Health Monitor project in the first place?
Well, I was working with a guy, we'll call him Wayne. Well, that's his name, but I was working with a guy named Wayne, and he saw me working with all of these queries that I had that I would copy and paste and run on one server and run on another server and checking the health of things. And he originally said, you should put those all together in a SSRS or SQL Server Reporting Services package and bundle it up and and see what you can do with that. And I thought, yeah, that was interesting because I was just learning about SSRS, I think, at about that point in time. So I built some reports out in SQL Server Report Server. Uh, they worked really well in the environment that I was in. And then I actually ended up going to SQL Saturday and doing a presentation and showing all these SSRS reports for checking the server health. But what came out of that was I became limited by SSRS at that point in time, and I couldn't do all of the things I wanted to do, like all the options to connect to multiple databases and remember the connections and monitor different things. And uh, I'm sure it's evolved a lot, SSRS has, but I ended up breaking away from doing it as a report server project and then building it as a standalone application after that.
Wow. Wow. So can anyone use Database Health Monitor? Will it work with only certain servers or all servers?
Well, Database Health Monitor is a free product, and it's something that uh, will work with any installed version of SQL Server uh, that runs on Windows. I know we don't have a Linux version of it yet, but it does look at some of the Linux servers and take a look there. But as far as SQL Server 2005, 2008 R2, 2008, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2017, and 2019 all installed on premise. It works great with all of those, and I'm sure it'll work great with whatever the next version that comes out after that will be. However, it does not work on SQL Server 2000. So if you're in the dark ages and still running that version, tough luck.
Okay, okay. So what can Database Health Monitor do for users and why is it so useful?
Oh, it's so useful because it allows you to get quick access to different metrics and find problems. Let me share my screen and I'll show a couple things here.
Okay.
So doing SQL Server consulting, we do a lot of SQL Server health assessments and performance assessments where we're taking a look at a server for someone, and we may have never seen that server before. So the first thing we'll do is we'll start up Database Health Monitor and go take a look at a few things on that server. One of the first things we look at, and we'll take a look here at one that's got some issues, is what we call the quick scan report. And the quick scan report goes out and it assesses about 100 different items, and it comes back and reports on things that are either contradictory to best practices or performance issues or things that are not recommended or things that are missing that are recommended or things that we've found over time that can just be a problem. And it reports back on details of what they are. So like right here, the SQL Server max server memory setting is not set correctly. We've got some full recovery model databases with no log backups. We've got missing alerts, no notification on failure on jobs, databases on the C drive, all the things that if you were in like a SQL DBA class, it's all the things they tell you to do or not to do, and it's catching you on those. So like CheckDB has not been run. Well, if you've heard me talk in my corruption presentation about how important CheckDB is, well, maybe somebody should be running CheckDB on this server. Uh, and then all kinds of other things. And it kind of gives you a list here of what SQL Server needs to kind of get it whipped into shape if it hasn't been maintained for quite a while. Now, if you have top-notch DBA who knows absolutely everything about proper way to configure SQL Server, and you run it on a server that's been taken care of by someone like that, your list will be much shorter. If it's a server that's been built out and maybe not maintained by anyone who knew to check these things for many years, you might have lots and lots of things to deal with here. Another thing that separate from the quick scan report that I think is incredibly valuable um, is what's called the historic monitoring here and historic weights. And what this does, when you first start it up, you don't have this information. You have to install a little SQL agent job and a small database that tracks this. But what it does is it monitors your server. It keeps track of the queries that are being run, queries that are taking time, and what's causing them to wait or what's causing them to be slow. So for instance, if we click here and drill down on just some day at random, like the 20th of the month, we can see that during the day, there was kind of an average number of waits here in the 50,000 to 100,000 range. But then around 11 p.m., it kicks off with a higher level of waits. And this is a test server, so it's not real indicative of what you might see in production. But you'd see a chart like this. You'd be able to then drill down, and let's say we were concerned with why things were slow at 9 a.m. We could click here and see, well, at 9 a.m., there's this job running called download latest items that has 49,000 waits, or almost half the waits for that entire hour are associated with this one query. So if we double click on that, we can see that most of the waits are CX consumer and resource semaphore and CX packet. Now, this is running on my desktop, and I think I've got 32 cores, and I probably haven't set up the max degree of parallelism correctly. So that's why these weights are so high. Not a big deal on my desktop, but if this was in a production environment, you'd probably want to take a look at that and see what's going on there. But this is really, from my perspective, one of the most valuable parts of all of Database Health Monitor is to be able to go and do this historic tracking. And that way, when somebody says the server was slow at 3 p.m. yesterday, you can go back and figure out why it was slow and figure out what queries were causing problems.
Okay. Well, I'm interested. How has Database Health Monitor evolved over the years, and what's your plan for the future?
Well, over the last 10 years, a lot of things have happened with it. And if you go to the databasehealth.com site, which is where you can download it for free, there's a couple different places where we can look at the history of how things have evolved. If we go to the download page, we can see the recent downloads and the different things that have been bug fixes and new features over the last roughly year or so. If we go to the release notes page, there's a little bit more of an extended history there of all the release notes that have come out on the different versions. And then finally, if we go to the About page on Database Health Monitor, it has a timeline that kind of shows how things have gone and how it's evolved. And things like April 29th, 2013, the 500, trip up there, the 500th download of Database Health Reports, and then the 600th download. And I was really tracking and getting excited about numbers back then. And now I think the number is somewhere over about 5,000 or 6,000 people that are using it worldwide. So it's exciting to see what's going on there. And there's enough people using it that I usually get a couple of contacts every week about somebody asking for something or trying to find out more about it.
Okay, so you mentioned that Database Health Monitor is free for users. Will it continue to be free?
Well, yeah, the straight up honest answer there is I'd love to charge for it, but I'm getting so caught up with how to deal with sales tax appropriately that I just gave up on that for a while. So all that we ask with Database Health Monitor, your payment for it is basically that you register it, and that when you register Database Health Monitor, that you fill in your email address and your name so I know who's using it. And with that, you'll get a license code for free, basically in exchange for your email address there. So we can email you occasionally. We're not going to spam you to death, but we'll email you occasionally and let you know about things that we're doing with the company or with Database Health Monitor. Now, occasionally somebody comes along and they really don't want to receive any more email there. So if somebody wants to use Database Health Monitor, but you're really opposed to that email system, get a hold of me and let me know, and I can set you up with a license code where you pay a dollar amount for it rather than exchanging it for your email. So one of the things that I really love to see is when people are using Database Health Monitor and they have suggestions on how it will make their life or their job easier and better. And what's really cool is when somebody suggests something and I look at it and I think, wow, I could do that same thing and it would make my job easier. And then I add it into the product. And that's really what's happened a lot over the last 10 years to evolve the product to the point it's at right now. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about Database Health Monitor or any suggested changes you'd like to see, please comment below or send me an email and let me know what your ideas are. Have a great day.